So our purpose, you all know this, but reminders are important. Help West Michigan become the hotbed of the best leaders in the country. What Silicon Valley is to technology, which technology is everywhere, but there's something about Silicon Valley, especially back in the day, that was special. Or what Nashville is to country music. We just believe we should be that to leadership. It's possible we've been that for a long, long time, but no one's named it. So we've named it, and we're doing everything we can to help make that happen. Our vision, there will be 1,000 of you alums by 2027. And at one time that felt daunting. But we are right now at, and by the way, you'll impact 10-ish, not only by how you lead and the difference they see in you, but what you teach. Teach them these key things that came up earlier. Teach them that listening is really important and why. And lately, by the way, when I talk about listening, it's like there's two really important reasons why. You learn a bunch of stuff. Go figure. And the relationship with the person you listen to, it really, really solidifies that. So anyway, teach them things like that. You'll hit 10 people each, and that'll be 10,000 in West Michigan that are leading in an even better way. And we're ahead of schedule to hit this. We are, thus far, 521 alumni, and we've got 100 and some here this morning. There's 63 more that are either about 6 months through their year or they've just begun their year. And we also have this thing called Lead 24/7 Focus. There's several. Raise your hand if you're a Disher person here. I saw quite a few Disher people. Look at that. Look at all the Disher. I hope Disher's running okay this morning. But we've partnered with Disher on a 3-month and 4-month kind of package that's part of Lead 24/7, and there's 6 of those. And so for, I don't know, maybe 4 years now, we've been doing that with Disher. So I don't know what the numbers of people that have gone through that, but certainly it's 100, maybe to 200 that have done that. So that's really exciting for us. At this point, we have launched 3 nonprofit cohorts. Raise your hand if you were in one of the first 2 nonprofits, okay? It's a cohort of 9 nonprofit leaders. It's very cool. I'm very excited about it. We will not be the hotbed of the best leaders in the country if we only work with business leaders. So we're also working with nonprofit leaders. And we've just kicked off our 2nd pastors cohort because churches need to do better than churches have been doing as well. We all need to. And so if we're going to be this living system of significantly better leaders than elsewhere, and that we've been, we believe that the faith community needs to learn from this too. So it's really exciting that we've had, and Gerald, who stood up a moment ago. By the way, raise your hand if you were in one of the, well, it'd only be the one. Raise your hand if you were in the one, okay, pastor's cohort. We're just now kicking off the 2nd one. But he's doing that with Pastor Greg Vandermeer from Fairhaven Ministries. So that's really exciting for us. We think there'll be a 3rd next spring that kicks off. We've also reached out to K-12 educators because in my mind, for us to have this impact in West Michigan, needs to be business leaders, nonprofit leaders, faith leaders, and educators, specifically K-12. There's some people in my life. One of them's right back there, and he keeps saying, in fact, 2 of them are sitting right next to each other. There needs to be a 5th one, that's government. But my wife was a state legislator and did all that for a long time. She's like, I don't know that I want to do the government thing. But anyway, we do have Mayor Kepley with us here from Kentwood, who's amazing, and Howard Fink, who's the supervisor, manager of Park Township. And every now and then they say, we need to get more governmental people into this. So maybe there will be 5 pillars. Is there a building that has 5 pillars? I don't know. But anyway. So we've had 6 K-12 educators, 3 in one traditional cohort surrounded by business leaders, and then a 2nd one, and we'll be doing more. They decided they didn't want to be separate, they want to be integrated. So that's exciting for us as well. Now just a little bit of a forecast. Elizabeth Rolinski will be our managing partner in January. And so, I'm currently the founder and managing partner. I'm going to become founder and partner. And so Elizabeth joined us a couple years ago, and specifically, I wanted her to run it one day. And so I'm going to tell you some stuff about her, and then I'm going to ask her to share a few comments. But Elizabeth would never tell you what I'm about to tell you because it feels like bragging, but I can brag on her. So Elizabeth and I go way back. That's not the bragging part. She stayed young. I got old. But and she was in a leadership program way back when, and I got to know her really well. Well, she continued her career and ended up being the person that led the team that started the first lithium-ion battery plant in North America. And that's a big deal now, right? And this happened back when President Obama was president, and he came and checked it out. She's got some really cool pictures of him with his arm around her, and she's pointing, off into this corner of the plant and stuff like that. She's a big deal. And then her team, with her leadership, started one in France. And then her team, with her leadership, started one in China. And then she came back to Milwaukee to be the global vice president of industrial engineering or something really impressive sounding. So I don't think it was nuclear, but anyway. So she's amazing, and starting January, I start working for Elizabeth and the team, and I'm really excited about that because all along I should have been working for a really cool leader, not trying to make this happen myself. But Elizabeth, would you come up here and just share a little bit about, kind of why you chose to join, and yeah, just a couple minutes. And let's give her a round of applause.
Actually, I'd rather talk about you, Rodger, so that's what I'm going to do. And how I get to boss you around starting January, I think is what that was going to say. Wait, that's not that humble leadership thing that we teach. So yeah, I'll have to model it. And no, he'll still be here. But I was thinking about Rodger and thinking about this morning and Tom Peters' quote that leaders don't create followers, leaders create more leaders. And I thought, I wonder if Tom Peters was just watching Rodger and his career and what he's done in that. So you think about, not just this room, the 600 some that are in or have graduated, but the 10,000 number he put up there that are influenced through this vision that he has had. And so I am really glad that, as he maybe passes some stuff off to me in January, he's still here. Because he is that network that has connected all of you and all those people who aren't here today, but also the curriculum. I'm a shout out to cohort 38. I think there's at least Megan here. I'm a graduate of cohort 38 myself, so that's kind of how I got started. And I was amazed by the material, and then I taught 43. A whole lot of 43 is here with Rodger, and even a little more amazed. Like the connections each time that I taught were like, wow. That's brilliant. And Meredith and Gerald and Jeff and Dave, the whole team, we're adding to that, but still it was like coming together as just really makes so much sense, building this person worth following. So anyways, that's part of what attracted me to it. And as Rodger said, we've known each other for years, but the interesting thing, it was here in the Pinnacle Center that we reconnected, that launched this idea. So about 5 years ago, I was living in Milwaukee and asked to come and speak at an event here. I think the stage was on the other side, though, because this all doesn't seem right now that I'm here. But and afterwards, and Raj was in the audience, maybe came specifically to support Inforum, and we knew each other. But we talked afterwards, and he said, hey, let's have coffee. What are you thinking about doing, and when are you planning to retire from that world? And I had my eyes on retiring when I got that pension at 55 and going on to teaching more. And I didn't know if that'd be in academia or quite what, but we started talking, and I loved what I heard. So it's been a great journey, and the team is awesome, and I love the topic for today that Tracy's taken us through because it is a team that likes to have fun and that is playful. And I was so impressed when we looked at the values, and early on I got to do a values exercise with you guys to try to go from, I don't remember what, we wanted to go 10 to 6 or whatever it was. And we debated one, which was to be playful, to take our work seriously but not ourselves seriously. And all of us, I think, said, no, that one can't go. That's important. Like, that's what we want to be here for. So I have absolutely loved that, as well as the, the culture of all the people that we have met. So yeah, just real quick, Rodger asked me to add a little bit about myself. I won't spend much time on that, but a grandma of 3, and I love that. We just dropped them off last night after having them for the weekend. And my career, I look back on, and maybe this is a little like, a woman who's been through labor and mom and dad that, are up at night with newborns and all that, and you forget that part of it, and it's nothing but joy when you think back on it. Maybe it's a little like that, but I think of my career as just an amazing adventure that I was blessed to have. And there's a whole bunch of coworkers, so I don't know if you guys look back on it the same way, that are now doing nonprofit things and kind of did the same as I did of what's my next phase. But, great travel around the world and great teams and people to learn from. And when I look back on it, and it was, I am an industrial engineer, so you had that part right. I was leading global ops for Clarios, which was a spinoff of Johnson Controls, but is still the largest battery manufacturer in the world for automotive. And it was fun. And I was learning still every single day in that, but really ready to transition into something that would be even more of the stuff that I enjoyed in that leadership topic. And I'm loving coaching, and so having a great time with it.
Thank you.
So is that what you wanted, Raj?
That's perfect. So, we've had this amazing team from day one, and it has grown. And when Elizabeth said, yeah, I'd really like to do that, I just had this sense of, boy, the future is really, really bright. I need to make sure to not mess it up before she gets it, and then serve the team and Elizabeth best I can going forward. So that's a cool change that's coming up. There's something else I wanted to share about. There's 5 things I made a commitment to myself that I would do for alums. I heard from another program that was an amazing program. I won't name it, but when you were done with your year, you were sort of done. And I heard several friends say, I loved that program, but it just sort of just dropped. And so, Rodger, you have to do something with alumni. And it's like, I don't know how to. But we started trying some things, and then it eventually came to, there's 5 things we're committed to for you, and one of them we have not really started yet. But one, we're going to remind you of what you learned. Secondly, we're going to share some new things with you today, and what you learned from Dr. Brower this morning, a bunch of it will be new. We're going to give you opportunities to go deeper if you want. And so we have over 100 people involved in alumni groups, kind of like smaller, 9, 10, 11, 12 type of group, led by 2 alumni. And each month for 90 minutes, you kind of remember the material and say, how am I applying it? How are you applying it? And learning from each other that way. And a 4th then is to network you. I want you to know who's out there that's gone through the same language, the same models, and you can leverage each other. And then the 5th, which we haven't really started yet, but I'm committed to connecting nonprofit needs, community needs, with our alums. And so, not quite sure how to do that. We have one of the, I would say in the Holland-Zeeland area, the nonprofit leader of nonprofit leaders, Patrick Sisler here. And so I know he'll help me when it's time. How can we put in front of you, alums, opportunities on nonprofit boards, or to build a playground over a weekend, or whatever it may be. But Peter Drucker said one of the best ways to grow as a leader is to lead where people don't have to follow. And that's nonprofit. And when I look back at my career, I learned a ton at work. I also learned a ton by being on boards and by being involved with the Boys and Girls Club for a long time, which Craig is the executive director. And Craig's taught me a lot of things about leadership. It's like, don't do that, Rodger. And do that, that's good. And so you learn from people that don't have to follow you. And so we're going to figure that out. The thing we're scratching our heads about right now, Don, where are you? And would you stand up, Don Wilkinson? So Don is the executive director of Habitat. And we're starting to scratch our heads around, how could there be a cool, just as one example of what I think will be many, but how could there be a real cool thing with Leading by Design alumni and Habitat? And maybe one day we would build our own house and fund it ourselves. So we're looking at some things like that. That's that fifth one. Some of you get excited by that, and I'm sorry I haven't made any progress in that yet, but that's still out there. I'm trusting that Elizabeth will take it up and make it actually happen. So, or she'll then delegate it back to me. So I'm going to work for the team and for the mission for a few more years, at least for a few more years. And then I just want you to know that our vision of 1,000, you might remember if we did this with you, if I had a rubber band here, you start stretching that, and if this is the vision, that stretches the tension, which pulls you toward that vision. Well, we're starting to get close enough to achieving our vision that it's not so much tension on it anymore. So I have no idea what the new vision will be, but I'm committed to bothering my new boss, saying, hey, we need to figure out new vision here. So that's kind of an update on Leading by Design. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for letting us share that.